All right, hello and welcome to today's webinar, Building Circular and Fair Supply Chains and Introducing Cradle to Cradle Certified to the ESCP community. My name is Todd Merton, Director of Member and Partnership Growth for the Ethical Supply Chain, and I'm pleased to be joined today by Nienke Steen, Director of Apparel, Textiles, and Footwear for Cradle to Cradle Certified. It's great to see such a wide variety of brands and organizations spanning multiple product categories joining us today. We will have the opportunity to learn more about achieving greater product sustainability and circularity from an industry expert that is applicable whether you are just starting out on the road to achieving this for your own business or have a plan in place and are looking to take it to the next level. Before we dive in, just a couple of quick housekeeping items. We will have time at the end of the presentation for a Q&A, so please feel free to drop any questions you have throughout the webinar into the Q&A box, and we will do our best to get to everyone at the end. Throughout the webinar, we will have some anonymous interactive poll questions pop up on your screen. We encourage everyone to take a second and select any answers that are applicable to your business. We will post the results immediately following the question. We are also recording today's webinar, and we will email out the link to today's attendees should you wish to share it with any of our colleagues. To get started, we'll go ahead and pop up the first poll question, so please select any answers that may apply to you. How familiar are you with the concept of circular economy? We'll give everybody a couple seconds here to place their answers. All right, we can post the results. All right, so it looks like everybody's at least somewhat familiar with the term of circular economy, which is great. We'll dive into more of that as we get into the presentation. For those of you that are not familiar with the Ethical Supply Chain Program, I'll just take a couple of minutes here to quickly explain who we are, what we do, and what led us to this partnership with Cradle to Cradle Certified. The Ethical Supply Chain Program is a global nonprofit organization that helps companies build responsible, transparent, and sustainable supply chains by promoting fair labor practices, environmental stewardship, and ethical sourcing. We provide the tools, resources, and partnerships to support businesses in meeting global standards and strengthening accountability across their supply networks. We were created over 20 years ago, primarily for the toy industry and based in China as an audit-only program. Since then, we have transformed into a full social compliance audit, remediation, and certification program covering the globe and spanning multiple industries. Our programs today, we mainly focus on five key areas. First being our factory certification. This is our full scope social compliance audit. In order for a company or a supplier to achieve certification, we require them to remediate 100% of all non-compliances found in their facility. We help them with the remediation process to make sure that everything is completely closed, and at that point, then they can achieve their certificate. We also offer an array of social and environmental impact assessments. These are online verified assessments that really look at the management systems in place, the capabilities of whether it's a tier 2 manufacturer, whether it's a vendor, or it could be a licensee, but it's looking at their management system capability in dealing with supply chain issues. We also provide them a developmental program as well, so that helps them improve over the long term. We own and operate our own grievance mechanism, which is our worker helpline. This is a free confidential line that's actually a mandatory part of our factory certification program. Any factory that's certified by us has to provide access to this grievance mechanism for all of their employees. Similar to our certification program, we close out 100% of the calls that come into this grievance mechanism. We established the line in 2010 in China and has since expanded to Vietnam in 2021, and we're continuing to explore other countries where we'll soon be operating the helpline there as well. Next is our worker well-being programs. This is a wide range of programs that are designed to meet not only the needs of the supplier, but more importantly, meet the needs of the workers. This includes things such as our family-friendly spaces, where we assist factories in establishing daycare centers or childcare centers in their facility or in their surrounding communities. our gender equality program, our migrant parent training program, and other life skill development programs that we offer to factories that are within our program. And then finally, our risk and impact assessments. These kind of live between our full factory certification and our social and environmental impacts. Again, these are online assessments, but looking at the most serious issues of a social compliance issue. And we can also create and develop other assessments to meet the needs of whatever company is looking to utilize them. As I had mentioned earlier, we initially were started out in the toy industry. We were created for toys by the toy industry, essentially. But we've since greatly expanded into covering a multiple number of different lines of business, whether it's apparel, hard goods, packaging, metals, promotional products, textiles, printing and publishing. Basically, if a facility has four walls and a roof and is producing a product inside it, our program is applicable to that. And again, starting out mainly in China, we've now expanded and have certified factories in over 45 plus countries. Here at ESCP, we take great pride in being an adaptable and nimble organization in order to best meet the needs of our members and the manufacturing community as a whole. In order for us to do this, we actively seek out partnerships and collaborations to provide resources in areas outside of our regular expertise, which are designed to help ease program fatigue for brands, audit fatigue for suppliers, and to help them keep up with the ever-changing global regulatory landscape, which is what leads us to today and our collaboration with Cradle to Cradle Certified, where it allows us to each lean on each other's strengths to better serve our respective members. Before I turn it over to Nienke, we'll go ahead and pop up our second poll question here. Which sustainability factor do you consider most important for your company? Great, now we'll post the results. All right, pretty interesting mix there. Looks like fair labor and social responsibility and safe materials are the most important, followed by recyclability and circular design. Great. Just a reminder, if you have any questions as we go along, do feel free to drop those in the Q&A section and we'll get to as many of those as we can. But without further ado, I'd now like to turn things over to Nienke. I'll go ahead and stop sharing so you can share your screen.
Thank you very much. So probably we'll see my screen now, I thought.
Yep, you're
Yeah?
good.
Great. So Cradle to Cradle Certified. I will try to tell all about it today. Whenever you have more questions, you can always address them afterwards in the chat. Cradle to Cradle Certified, it's a product certification. And it's made for products that are good for you and our planet. So it's a great combination or collaboration with the ethical supply chain program and us to combine social fairness, but also with the environmental benefit and circularity benefit of Cradle to Cradle. As you see on the picture, we do also many different products. So it's not only toys or only garments. It's like built environment products, furniture, garments, but also electronics, toys, fridges, like almost any kind of product can be certified except for food products. I'm Nienke Steen. I work as a director consumer products these days. So I didn't inform Todd very well because first I was the director apparel, textiles and footwear only, but now my reach is a bit beyond that, which is amazing because I can learn from different sectors. But my background is mainly in textiles, apparel, and footwear. And here I'm in a textile library or a garment library in Amsterdam, which is a super cool circular concept to rent garments instead of buying garments. So it helps to extend the lifetime of a garment, but also for the renters, it's super nice to to rent a dress, bring it back, and the next party you can wear another dress. So everybody thinks you're brand new every party. So that's it's a super nice concept, and it gives us also the affordability to rent luxury products, for example. So it's I think a win-win situation of a circular business concept. You can also see my email address here, so you can also always contact me on this email address whenever you're interested in the program. So the standard is owned by the Cradle to Cradle Products Innovation Institute. The institute is rooted in the Cradle to Cradle design philosophy. And that was written in a book published 25 years ago. So it was a really innovative concept at the time. And based on that, we developed the product standard, which evolved over time by learning, doing. So now we're version 4.1 of the standard. The vision of the institute is a world where safe materials and products are designed and manufactured in a prosperous circular economy to maximize health and well-being for people and planet. And the mission is, of course, to lead and inspire all stakeholders across the globe to create innovative products and materials that positively impact people and planet. And we're headquartered in Amsterdam. We also have colleagues in the US and in Germany. We're almost with 25 people, and we have a wide network of assessing bodies around the globe that help companies to assess all the data that comes with the standard. The certification, what is it? It's a multi-attribute standard. It covers 5 impact areas. And I will tell you in the next few slides what kind of impact areas I mean. But the good thing is we are covering stages from raw material extraction to end of life. So we take a full life cycle approach to products. It's very essential to us that circularity is a means to an end. So it unlocks very like many different benefits. Looking into reducing carbon footprints because you avoid using virgin, for example, or if you use virgin, it's a renewable fiber that you need to use that is produced responsibly. It reduces pressure on ecosystems, and it can even reduce cost if you use it in a very beneficial way. So if you really integrate your circular products in a circular business model, for example, by reusing resources, you can really minimize the production cost of your products. And it's a third-party verified program. So if you're in our program, you use our standard, we have this wide network of assessors that that will assess the data, which is based on the requirements in our standard. We make sure all the information is accurate and that you can safely claim the benefit, the product achievements in the markets. Why is it so important to work on circularity? So using recycled instead of virgin materials can reduce carbon emissions by 40 to 70%. And this is, I think, crucial and always almost an easy win. So if you can avoid using virgin materials, or you focus on the use of responsible renewables, it really helps you to reduce your emissions, but also water use, also energy use. And if you look at most products, the virgin resource or the resources that are used are most impactful. So if you can just cut out most of the virgin resources of your product, or use recycled content or renewable resources, then it can really help you to cut your impact drastically. Also, based on the World Wildlife Fund, scientific results showed that we could reduce biodiversity loss by 50% in 2050 if we really make sure that we are reducing demand for raw materials and that when we minimize pollution. So it really helps us to save nature and to keep our planet at least as it is and not worse, but hopefully better, because the results looking at biodiversity are really terrible these days if we continue the way we are used to make and sell products. With just the take, make, waste society where we're in right now. So focus on the toy sector, and I know the ethical supply chain program is wider than just toys, but had very much a toy perspective or a toy focus originally. So I took out this example. So looking at sustainability in the toy sector, you see it becomes a non-negotiable almost. And you also saw it in the results that most of you were clicking on, I want safe materials without toxic chemicals. I want circular or at least recyclable materials to use. And then you want to have it fairly made, which is really interesting because exactly those points of safe products and circular products is our focus. And you also see that coming back in even EU regulations now. So if you sell products on the EU market, you need to deal with some rules that are very much related to what we're driving. So for example, sorry, I missed the letter here, the toy safety regulation is related to not use hazardous chemicals anymore, but also to the DPP, the Digital Product Passport, to be transparent about materials you use, but also the chemicals that you avoid in making your product, but also the Green Claim Directive, which requires companies to make fair green claims on products and not too vague, but very specific claims. And Cradle to Cradle really helps to make claims very specific and very trustworthy. So that is super important, especially in markets of, for example, toys, where parents buy products often for their children, and then it's very crucial to them that their products the children play with are made without toxic dye stuff or elements or materials. So that really helps. If you look at what's happening in the toy industries, I took out some examples that I noted from Lego, for example. Lego Replay has sugarcane-based bricks. Mattel has a playback program for toy recycling, for example, where they look at the reuse and then maybe repair or refurbish and then recycling. And the waste hierarchy, we call it, or the R strategies. And then the third example is Playmobil Junior is using 90% plant-based plastics, so bio-based plastics. So there are a lot of developments going on, and we help companies to validate these kind of improvements of products. I will give you a bit more details about the topics, the impact topics, and the requirements in our program. So we have 5 key impact areas. I already addressed them in an earlier slide. I called it a multi-attribute standard. And the first one is material health. And material health means that all the materials and dye stuff and finishes you use to make your product will be assessed for material health, so chemical safety. So we will check what chemicals have been screened out, but also is it healthy for people and planet? What's in there? So we ask full ingredient lists, which goes beyond like the average checks. Second is clean air and climate protection. So we check what the footprint is of your product, looking at energy and emissions, and also the reductions that have been achieved during the project. Product circularity, the third, is about how your product is designed to actively contribute to a circular economy. So it's about the materials you use need to be recycled content or responsible renewable content, but also the circular design and the circular system you offer to get products back in the right look. Water and soil stewardship is about how our soils are being protected, especially looking at manufacturing of the product. So what chemicals are used and how does the facility release the chemicals to the environment? And are these water flows tested on hazardous chemicals before it releases the facility? And also it's about water reduction targets. First, the amount of water is used, and then what's being done in the facility to limit the amount of water that is used. And the last one is social fairness, and that's at least no child labor or forced labor. But then we have an increasing level of requirements on social fairness, and It's also about responsible sourcing policies and many things more, risk assessment. And this is where we collaborate, of course, with the ethical supply chain program and some other programs. But it's really important that we want to avoid double auditing. And therefore, also in the other areas, we collaborate with significant, trustworthy other programs to avoid double auditing. And for social fairness, we recognize the ethical supply chain program. And so if you're already collaborating with them, it really helps you. You can almost cross that chapter because you already did it. So that really helps you to focus on the other impact elements to obtain Cradle to Cradle certified. And that's really in the benefit of companies that we try to collaborate and recognize each other's work and do what we're best at for companies to avoid extra cost, double auditing, extra work to validate the same facts. Cradle to Cradle offers 3 different certifications. So the first one is full scope, and it addresses all the 5 key impact topics that I just described. Then on the left side, companies can choose to go for material health only if they think that is like what I want to do, what I want to start with, the chemical safety of my product. Then you can choose for material health only. So it's just that chapter out of the full scope that you can get certified for. And on the right side, you see the product circularity as a standalone certification called circularity. So that takes out the requirements of product circularity, and then you can get certified for product circularity only. So it could be a great start if you think like all the 5 impact topics, it's a bit too much for me to start with. You can choose to work with material health and or circularity first, and before you go for full scope. So full scope is showing leadership in fully optimized products, and it's already in the market since 2005. And on the left side, you'll see the trademark that you can use on all your products that belong to the certification. And please remind, you can group more products under one certification as long as they have the same kind of components, but they can be sold in different variations. But it's important that all the materials and all the chemicals that you use for this product category are then listed under this certification. The second option is circularity only, with the focus on product circularity and measurable goals to guide all aspects of circular product development. Think product design, but also sourcing of materials, circular systems, and we added some packaging requirements and material health requirements, but then on the very basic level. And on the left side, you will see the trademark you can use then for products that obtain the circularity certification. And the last one is the material health option, and that verifies that the product is healthy for people and the planet. And it includes the full material health methodology of our latest version of the standard, including a chemical inventory, screening of all chemicals, and assessment of the chemicals. We divide all the chemicals in different boxes, from red, like very risky chemicals, to green chemicals, which are great positive chemicals that have caused no toxic risk to people and planet. And then the last phase is the optimization, where our assessors also guide companies to find alternatives, for example, for the red chemicals. So if you obtain your certification, you will have it for 3 years. So for 3 years, you can sell this product group with the certification. And we try to drive within those 3 years to drive companies to higher levels. So you can start, for example, on bronze level, but maybe you're already beyond that and you start at silver or gold. But then we try to see what we can do together to bring you to a higher level and to optimize your products. The only obligation, so you don't need to do it, the only obligation is that you can stay only for 2 cycles in bronze level. So, and then you need to go up. But if you're at least silver level, you're good to go. And it's also about company policy if you want to improve over time. But often companies do improve over time. And then a bit more on the requirements per impact topic. So we start with an environmental policy and management system requirements, where we ask companies to show the current management system, the current policies that you have, and then it needs to be according to international norms. So we have them listed in our standard and our user guidance, and you need to comply to all these requirements on policies and management systems. Here are some more details. So on the bronze level, it's more about the policy, the risk identification, strategy setting, and then you need to show executive commitment. And on gold level, for example, you also need to embed a responsible sourcing management system. So you really need to show that you're integrating environmental responsible management practices in your sourcing management system. And then also you need to do some stakeholder engagement and feedback incorporated to that, which could be NGOs, but also the supplier or workers, consumers, to see what's important to them and how you relate to that as a company. And how you're also going to mitigate risks if they pop up also from stakeholder consultations. Then material health. I already explained it's about the chemical safety of your product. And at bronze level, for example, we require compliance with leading chemical regulations, but also we add at bronze level some chemical groups where we know they're more risky than people often know, because they're not always adopted in EU law or US law yet, which are, for example, organohalogen substances of special concern and non-halogenated classes of equivalent concern. And in normal human language, it means, for example, PVC. And PVC is often used also in all kinds of plastic products. This is, for example, not possible to use in a cradle-to-cradle certified product. And for example, at the gold level, we require that the product is optimized for material health with all the X-assessed chemicals, so the red chemicals, replaced or phased out. Red chemicals meaning risky chemicals. I always use the colors because it's easy to grasp. But also you need to develop a strategy to increase preferred materials and chemicals, or optimize the chemistry in the supply chain. So you see over the levels, we have more and more stricter chemical requirements. Platinum level is like amazing, but gold is already very high reach, and bronze is a great start. So with concerning the chemicals, we first inventory every ingredient of the product, even up to 100 ppm, parts per million per ingredient. Then we screen every ingredient against the restricted substances list that we made. So it's the legally restricted chemicals plus the extra 2 categories that I just subscribed, or actually there are 4 categories. And then it will be assessed by chemists and toxicologists. And then on every chemical will be assessed on 20 data points. And they will pick out every chemical that could be hazardous for people and planet. Also the unknown chemicals, because there are often unknown chemicals used in the different processes of making a product. And the last phase is the optimization phase, where it gets really nice, because you get some advice also for the chemicals that you cannot use, what optimization you can do there, what kind of green chemicals you can use instead. And the restricted substances list, some examples, I already gave you. PVC is not allowed, the whole PFAS class is not allowed to use, some flame retardants, formaldehyde, heavy metals. This is probably familiar to you or your chemical specialists in your company. Then we turn to a product circularity. So that's I think the cool part of Cradle to Cradle, where we different from any other standards. We look at circular sourcing, circular design, and circular systems. Circular sourcing is about the amount of cycled or responsibly sourced renewable content. So you can use wood as long as it's, for example, FSC certified. But you cannot use PET polyester without being recycled. So, and then then circular design, it's about intentional product design enabling cycling after use. So you need to think, how can this product be detached, maybe because it exists of different monomaterials that need to be detached for recycling, or you make your product out of a monomaterial, just one material. So there are different ways, and we give also 11 different strategies in our standards to work on circular design. And last one is circular systems, about ensuring that you offer at least a system where consumers or companies can bring back products to you or to a system offered by a partner, where you make sure that the product enters in the right sorting system to get at least reused, refurbished, repaired, or recycled. This is an overview of the different levels and the requirements. So at bronze, we, for example, ask you to define the cycling pathway, meaning we have two important cycling pathways. One is the mechanical cycling path, the technical pathway, meaning mechanical or chemical recycling. And the other one is the biodegradation pathway, where your product or a component of your product can be biodegraded. And that's often used, for example, in cosmetics and cleaning agents, because then you know for sure your product will go down the drain and will be released in nature. And those products, for example, from L'Oreal, they have the ambition to have 50% of all L'Oreal products cradle to cradle certified for the biological cycle. But in textiles, for example, they often choose the technical cycle because the most obvious pathway is to mechanically or chemically recycle the product at end of life. Then you need to plan to address challenges with cycling infrastructure. So you need to show you thought about, okay, what kind of infrastructure can I think of? Do I need to create something, or is there already something offered by the state or by the region or by a sector? Then 50% by weight needs to be compatible with the cycling pathway. So you can start designing your product for at least 50% by weight to be compatible to get it recycled, for example. And then silver, it's 70% by weight, gold 90% by weight, and platinum 99% by weight. So again, platinum is the ideal product, but you can also choose for the stages before. Just see what is possible and doable for your product. At gold, for example, that's a big difference to bronze. We ask for high value. Your product needs to be designed for high value cycling, meaning your product needs to be recycled and end up in at least the same value. And that's, for example, with my textile background, an example is that in textiles, most of the products are downcycled into filling material or cleaning cloths, for example. That's okay for bronze and silver, but at gold level, you really need to design your product for textile to textile recycling so that the yarns can be spinned again and knitted or woven again into the same kind of quality as it was before. So that is at gold level what we mean with high value recycling. This is very cool because it's very much related to the DPP, the Digital Product Passport, which will be required in Europe at least. We've already provide a circularity data passport with all the products, where you can see most important data about materials, chemicals that are phased out, the circular design, like is it designed for mechanical recycling or chemical recycling, and you give cycling instructions, also where to bring it back to the consumer. So it really has all the data in it to make it really feasible that a product gets really recycled or really biodegraded. So that's the very important part, because now we have so much waste where we don't know what kind of materials are used. So then we can really, we really have a problem then with sorting and cycling, because we don't know what's in the products. So that's why we deal with like so many tons of waste, which is unnecessary, invaluable, because it's in potential, like it's huge value to us if we would indicate what kind of materials are used and what chemicals are addressed and not in the product. So this is a very, very important part in our Cradle to Cradle certified program that you will get with all your certified products. And maybe to make it a bit more commercial, it's also nice to add a QR code on your product, for example, with this information, but also maybe a nice film about how nice the Cradle to Cradle concept is for your consumer, and that they can belong to the solution and not to the problem. You can also show a nice marketing movie about your product and how they could use the product. And so it's I think there's so many different ways now to use the digital space to promote your product and cyclability of your product even more. Then the chapter Clean Air and Climate Protection. It's about energy and emissions. So at bronze level, for example, the facility needs to comply with air emissions regulations or guidelines. So first, the facility needs to show it's following the regulations. Then we will quantify the annual electric use and the greenhouse gas emissions of the facility that produces the goods. And then you see the targets over the levels again. At bronze, we ask at least 5% renewable energy or offsetting of greenhouse gas emissions, where I promote renewable way more than offsetting. And then it's 20% at silver level, 50% at gold level, at least renewable energy for the production of your products, and 100% at platinum. So we really try to drive renewable energy and to target the greenhouse gas emissions by offsetting, or rather finding out ways together with your assessor to limit the greenhouse gas emissions, so to reduce it instead of just offsetting, because we see that also as a last resort, let's say. Then water and soil stewardship. So how we deal with water and the soil surrounding our facilities. So first, the local water and soil issues are characterized. So we really try to bring it in context of the country and the region where the facility is. Is there water stress, and how does it look like? We measure the amount of water that is used. We also look at the chemicals that are entering effluent or sludge. At first, on the bronze level, we check if it's compliant with leading chemical regulations. And on the higher levels, we want the chemicals that are entering the effluent and sludge to be assessed and optimized. Yeah, I think this is most important. So it's about how much water is used, how is water released to the environment, and what impact does it have on the soil and water systems. That is most important for this category, very important. The last category, but not least, is social fairness. And normally companies that step in really new in our program have to start with all these requirements and measure and work on the corrective actions. But the good part is that if you work with the ethical supply chain program, you probably addressed most of these points. So we did the alignment assessment, and you will see that looking at policy creation and completing of corrective actions, and at bronze level, we need to address at least the high risk, or we call it the issues of high concern. And with the ethical supply chain program, you address this already, and you need to show your audit report and your corrective action plan, and you need to show with your report that you will make with the ethical supply chain program, and you can show with this audit report and corrective action plans that you addressed at least the issues of high concern, which will kind of tick the boxes on most of the social fairness requirements here. So that is a great win. Also, for example, in silver, we require this grievance mechanism, and I just noted also Todd showed us like the third box is showing this. You already get this grievance mechanism when you work with the ethical supply chain program. So it's really important that you already join social auditing program to show that you work with a qualified partner to address human rights risks in the supply chain. So this is a list of recognitions that we have per impact category. So we work with many different other schemes and standards that we recognize to meet certain requirements in our standards. So it reduces all the audit fatigue and double assessments that we want to avoid. And you see here in the social fairness, the third, the ethical supply chain program being part of our recognized partners. So, but maybe for the other, it might be that you work with some of the other initiatives to cover some of the other impact categories. And that will be wonderful if you can make this puzzle like, oh, I already do this and that and that, and then you don't need to double check or double audit. So this is a great win, and I will share this presentation, or Todd will share it with you so you can go over the list and find your initiatives here. And then there's time for a poll.
Yeah, so we got our third and final poll question. If you wouldn't mind providing your answers, what is the biggest challenge your organization faces in making products more sustainable? Great. Post the results. Looks like cost and investment and finding reliable suppliers and materials. Okay, good.
Planning. Cost and investment. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Thank you for filling out the poll. It's always nice to have some interaction. It's very good to know some practical steps in just the last few minutes that I will be speaking, and then we have some time for Q&A. We have a product registry where you can find all the certified materials and products. We have 470 companies in our program with about, I think, around 900 certifications with about 80,000 products under all those certifications. So you can find a huge list of products that are already certified. So maybe you can check material suppliers that you might use to create your products. If they're already certified, it makes it way easier to get your final product certified, for example. And then some examples of certified products. We, for example, have Aquafil certified for the EcoNeil, which is regenerated nylon. So it's a chemical recycling process, and they can make a quality as of new out of this chemical recycling process. But first, they can make a very high quality product out of these nylon yarns. Then Schleich, they make toy figurines, and they that are designed for recycling, and they offer a different range of characters, and this is super cool. And I think they avoided PVC and now use TPE for making these figurines. Then we have Rian Up, a very new supplier of a material. It's cotton and polyester that they have certified, and the cotton, they can make it even a post-consumer recycled cotton, and they use a thermochemical recycling procedure to recycle post-consumer cotton. So this is a great innovation because they also need to check the chemicals, and that's often very hard, and this succeeded. Dopper is an example, the Dopper water bottles. So it's a reusable water bottle, and you can find them everywhere, and they're designed and produced in the Netherlands. And they use great innovative materials, very clean, tested on chemicals, and designed for circularity. And then we have also electronics like Bang & Olufsen speakers. They are certifying almost their whole portfolio now, and it are great products. They look at all the R strategies always. They look at the mono elements to recycle easier or repair easier, and they look at the lifetime as a primary requirement. So they make really high quality products for durability. And it's also looking very good. It's also a bit pricey, but it's really a high quality product, circular and super safe. Ralph Lauren has cashmere sweater certified. Among their 5 iconic products, they have these sweaters certified, and they work with Reverso, an Italian recycler, to be able for consumers to send it back to the recycler whenever they don't want their product anymore. But of course, it's also made for durability first, with safe chemistry, safe finishes, and with all the requirements tackled, which are in our climate, water, and social category as well. So they're also responsibly made. Good to know that all the Cradle to Cradle certified products, so also toys, for example, have some benefits at Amazon and Zalando. So if you have the Cradle to Cradle certified certification, you will be part of the Climate Pledge Friendly program of Amazon, and they see an average of 12% sales increase in the first year of having your products on their website if you have this environmental pledge friendly status. So that is super cool. So we see a real sales aspect of return on investment here that will help you to sell the products better than when it doesn't have any certification. And same counts for Zalando. It's recognized by Zalando, so it will have this extra value addition on these websites, for example. Yeah, this is a short summary of the 3 certifications you can choose and the process. So whenever you're interested, contact me and I will guide you through this specific information. This is an overview of all the assessors, so the companies that help you to assess your product and processes. They're based in US, in Europe, but also in Asia, and they have also partners around the world. So it doesn't matter where you are, they will guide you to the end reports that they will send to us, and then we give you the certification when all the data is in order. And this was it. So I hope you're really excited to put your nature goals into action with Cradle to Cradle Certified and the Ethical Supply Chain Program. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat, or maybe Todd, do you have some questions already?
Yes, we have a lot of questions actually. So
Oh.
we'll try and get through as many as we can. For those that we're not able to, we'll record those and we'll pass them along to Nienke to get answers for you and provide them to you when we send off the recording. But here, I'll try and pick out as many as I can here, but we do have quite a few. And some of these might have been answered during the presentation. This first question here: what mechanisms exist to verify fair labor conditions and community impact under Cradle to Cradle certification?
Yeah, well, then I can maybe best go to my social slide. So, so we have 4 levels of social fairness requirements, and the question was specific on community. What did you say exactly?
To verify fair labor conditions and community impact under Cradle to Cradle.
Yeah, so we start at bronze level more on the policy side, and then we require a risk assessment. And that is a really important start to look at, okay, where am I producing? What kind of materials am I producing? What countries, what regions related to what kind of human rights risks? And based on that, we require action. So then you need to work with a qualified partner to measure in the key facilities of that are making or co-producing the products, the end product, and there we will require the measurement of all the social, like the status quo, but then also we require corrective actions based on the current situation. And that's why you need often a social partner like the Ethical Supply Chain Program, because they have the knowledge and the skilled people to help companies to address the right severe human rights issues that are, or labor issues that are happening in the facility, and they can give advices how to improve it together with the supplier. And that's why at gold level, we also require the responsible sourcing management system, because we really want to make it not only a problem of the supplier, but also a problem of the buyer. And we see that most of the achievements are made in collaboration with the purchasing company and the supplier company together. And we always look at context and of the region and the country. And I think that is also important to look broader than just the facility. We look at the context, like what kind of legislation is this country, what are the habits in this country, what do stakeholders say about the issues. So it's in that sense also almost a community approach. And I think at platinum level we also require it says here, diverse, inclusive, engaged work environment in place. Social fairness operates as a core part of recruitment, training, remuneration, performance evaluation, and incentive structures. So that really goes beyond the average, let's say, effort that companies take to improve supplier conditions at suppliers. Hopefully this gives an answer, and you can find all the details, because this is just a rough set of requirements, like high level. If you want to read like the specific requirements, I will make sure you get a direct link to the standard itself and the certification manual, which is even more explicit about what we require.
Great. All right. The next question, given the EU's push for verified sustainability claims, how can Cradle to Cradle certification demonstrate the supplier is authentically circular?
Yeah. So for us, so we divided circularity in 3 different steps, and we see those 3 steps coming back also in EU law. So for example, in eco-design, it's about the materials you need to use. So it needs to be or responsible, renewable, or recycled content. Then the circular design is not yet specified yet by eco-design. It will come up in the coming years, but it's basically the same aspect that we measure, which is you need to look at what materials you use and what kind of recycling systems exist. So you need to make sure during the cradle to cradle process that you show that your materials that you use can be recycled, at least at pilot scale, but best is at industrial scale. So it's really logical and feasible that your product can be recycled in the end, of at least 50% at bronze, 70% silver, 90% at gold. So we see this, and also not using hazardous chemicals is also part of eco-design. So you see almost a copy of the requirements that we already addressed for years at Cradle to Cradle, now in the eco-design regulation of the EU, which is great, because then if you work with Cradle to Cradle, you already know your, at least at legislation level, but probably beyond, because we always require beyond legislation.
Got it. All right. Next question here. I guess somebody's asking, how does an assessor become a certified assessor for Cradle to Cradle? Is there a process that those assessors go through, or do you add new assessors constantly, or is it kind of a fixed amount that you use?
For our assessors that they need to go through before they can become an assessor. Yeah, so if companies are interested, they can always contact us. But I know it's quite a rigorous program you need to go through, so you really need to be sure you want to do it. But we can give you more information on that if you like. But they're accredited assessors, and it's important that you have the right skills in place in the right in all the different impact areas, because that is, you need to have like a wide skilled set of people in your organization to do this work.
Next question is, could you share how Cradle to Cradle certification is positioned in terms of international recognition? I guess, meaning, is this something that's well known in Europe, maybe not so much in South America? Is it positioned to be applicable everywhere in the world.
Yeah, so we work very hard on global recognition, but the globe is quite huge to get like global recognition. But Cradle to Cradle is quite. We did a survey with GlobeScan a few years ago, and then you saw in the German markets, the US, Germany, France, we had most of the recognition right now. Most of the people know Cradle to Cradle by the book or by the concept. They don't always know that it's a standard and a certification program, but they do understand it very well when they see the trademark. So we tested the trademark, and then yeah, most of the people kind of recognize the logo somehow, and they like the fact that it's a certification. So it gives a lot of trust. And they cannot really distinct all the different certifications from each other. And especially, for example, in fashion, we have so many different certifications. But they love the fact that there's a trademark on it, because then they understand it's a third-party validation. And that's what consumers love, because then they trust the claim more. So that is more about broader about certifications, what we recognized from that study. But yeah, so but recognition, yeah, we work hard on it, and I think we have some recognition by different like retailers of our like Amazon, Zalando, but also I know in the built environment we have like huge labels, and also I know Google is recognizing us, and so it really helps that more and more companies are using it, and that we have millions of products around the world with the logo. So yeah, I think we're growing, and every company that steps in can help us to grow our market recognition.
Great. For organizations just starting their sustainability journey, what are the first practical steps you would recommend to move towards circularity?
Yeah. Well, I think the first step you can best take is look at what materials am I using, and second, and look at, okay, what are the let's say the set of, like, what do I know about my material? Then I mean the raw material, but also the dyes and the finishes, and how much information I get from. Oh, the sound is my AirPods are quitting. Do you still hear me?
Yeah, we can still hear you.
Okay. Okay, I will continue like this. So first a material check, and check how much information do I get from my supplier. So if you already work with suppliers that are in sustainability programs that give you a lot of information and data that are open to share, that show maybe other sustainability certifications to you, then you know you're on the right place, and to start with circularity. So I would say that is like most crucial start.
Got it. Okay. Just being conscious of the time here, I'll try and find a couple of quicker questions. I guess this may be more for clarification. Does this circular certification system, is it applicable for manufacturer or brands? I'm guessing it's more for the product, right? It's not the brand is claiming that they're circular, it's their individual product.
Yeah, but it's a good question, because it's often unclear how it works, because you have so many different certifications that are sometimes company-wide or product-specific. But Cradle to Cradle Certified is product-specific, and a brand can obtain it for a certain product group, like the end product that you sell to your consumer. But we also have manufacturers that create a component, like a plastic material, or buttons or zippers or dye stuff even. They can also go for a certification, to be able to market their product also better to their clients. So but it's still about the product or the product range, but it can be certified at different levels. So we have fabrics, we have plastics, we have wood, but also end products like fashion products, refrigerate, like what I showed, like the Bang & Olufsen speakers. So yeah, so we have manufacturers as well as brands or retailers in our program.
Great. All right, so we'll do the last question here. For questions that we didn't get to, like I said, we've recorded them, so we'll provide them to Nienke to get answers and get them back. But then that last one here, Many organizations already hold certifications such as ISO 14001, ISO 45001, and other ESG or sustainability related standards. How does the Cradle to Cradle certified program provide an additional edge or differentiation for them?
Yeah, for us, ISO 14000 is more like a starting point. So we also recognize ISO standards, and then we add. So that's how we also distinct ourselves from all the others. We always add. We're always a bit on top, a bit. We require always a bit more, and that helps companies also to say, "I'm a leader. I'm really a leader in sustainability because I work with Cradle to Cradle certified." And you can also tell it's not only about my product, it's also about all the processes around creating this product. And it's about my management systems, my social fairness system, my environmental management system. So it's really a leader standard.
Great. Well, perfect. Just being conscious of time here, we're just right at time, so we can wrap this up. I'd like to thank Nienke very much for attending today and providing such great information for everybody to go back and think about. Again, we'll send out the link with contact information. So if you are interested in starting the process with Cradle to Cradle, you'll be able to reach out to them directly to get that going. And of course, thank you to everybody that attended today and all the great questions you provided. Hopefully this was educational for you and is your first step in achieving, higher standards for circularity and sustainability. But yeah, so thank you very much again, and we'll make sure to send the recording out, and everybody enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Todd.